This is a very exciting time to be in education because there is so much reform work going on. I do think that there are needs in the central office all over. So I am only focusing on the need in human resources. When you talk to CEOs about their head of human resources or head of human capital, that person is their right-hand person around the talent in the organization, finding it and keeping it. That is their only role in life, is to find and keep great talent. And so on the education side, that means finding and keeping great administrators, great leaders, great central office people, and above all, great teachers. Part of what we do in HR is everything must be seen through the eyes of a principal. That's your key customer. Nobody else. The principal is your key customer. And you've got to see their work through the eyes of their work. And you've got to make sure that you are either adding value to their work, you're definitely not detracting and giving them more work. You know, a lot of times HR will say, well, fine, just let the principals do it. Well, no. You know, they can't go out and find their own math teachers. You've got to produce for them and then give them choices within that. Give them autonomy where they can have it. But all your systems have to be about making their lives easier. The district is not being the compliance arm of the organization anymore. They're being the supportive arm. They're saying, we hire great people, we are able to retain great people, and we're going to let them be free to do what they need to do to improve student achievement. What I think the movement is in training is to make sure that it's embedded in their job and in their classroom, and definitely in the school. And so no longer did we let central office just create a bunch of programs and then pull everybody out, including principals, and tell them you need this. We want the principals to tell us, we want the teachers to tell us what they think they need, and we want the whole thing to be linked to performance evaluation. In the academy, we actually have a segment of the curriculum called Linking HR Systems to Professional Development. Linking the performance evaluation, linking the attendance data, linking the career management to the professional development offerings so that it's very highly aligned. When we believed that there was no serious induction program for new teachers in New York, I went to the union and I said, not only do I think HR needs to run an induction program, but I want the union to partner with us. And we had co-leaders of HR and the union who developed that entire program. It was fabulous. The union helped us select the new teacher mentors, and the program was highly successful. I mean, Fairfax and Montgomery, we were at the table nonstop together. I don't like the words living contract, but that's what we had in Fairfax and Montgomery. We had living contracts where whatever issues came up, we didn't wait for negotiations. We sat down and we dealt with them. We might have an MOU, we might have an addition that we would then put into the contract later on, but we always dealt. Every week I had a meeting with the union and the deputy superintendent in Montgomery. We always dealt with every issue that came up. And I knew their hot points and they knew mine, so we would work through those issues. The arbitrators in many states, not just New York, are hired jointly by the union and the district. So Arbitrator A is popular with the union because he never sides against the union or sides infrequently. And what arbitrators did in New York is, let's say they had 5 cases in a row. They would make a decision on, let's say, the first 2, and they'd look back and say, uh-oh, I decided on favor of the district, I better give the union the next 2. That's literally how they thought. It wasn't based on the merits of the case. It wasn't based on the documentation. The first case I ever had that went into arbitration, we had 38 observation reports of this teacher. All of them were unsatisfactory. She had not improved at all. She had tons of help. She had mentors and supports and coaches and whatever. And when we asked for dismissal, the arbitrator said, well, but she wants to be a better teacher. Why don't we give her a chance? Why don't we give her a 3rd year to try out? There was no evidence at all that she was going to get better. And that would have never happened in a state where the arbitrators were not beholden to the union in some way. So one of the reforms I would love to see in the states is a different arbitration, either no arbitration at all, put them in front of a panel of teachers and principals that are experts, or if you're going to have arbitrators, they cannot be jointly hired. They have to be hired by the state and protected. Part of what we're looking at is what is the right role of the state vis-a-vis human capital work. Obviously, one of their huge pieces of work has to be around legislation that right now is antithetical to good human capital work. So, for example, what Tennessee and Colorado and I think Illinois has done around forced placements is very valuable work, where they're actually saying, if we close your school or if your school downsizes, we will give you a year to find another job, but if you don't find it on your own, we're not going to force place you anymore. Those kinds of legislative acts are really, really helpful, because that's the kind of work that individual districts can't do anything about on their own.